Hello, welcome back, everyone. As usual, we can start with a status roll call. And I can start this time. I am currently working on open sourcing some more diags from our side, which are based on the AutoVal framework. And more specifically, these will be some SSD testing diags. I still need to look at the code in more detail and run it in a way which is compatible with open sourcing. But the repos have been created in the OCP TV zone. And I think by next week, this should all be published. So we'll have some more diags available. All right. That's it for me. Next up, maybe Igor. Do you have any updates you want to share?
No updates, just a quick question. Are we aware of any work related to storage diags that Google is doing, like for OCP? Or because I heard some, colleagues of mine, they are working on something related to publishing storage diags to OCP, and I'm wondering if this committee is aware of this or.
So I am actually aware of that. I was chatting with Dan on email last week about this. My impression was that these SSD diags that I'm working on publishing right now on behalf of the team working on this, it's not me developing the diag specifically. I'm just helping them publish it to open source. My impression was that these are the diags that are in the working group that involves Google as well. But that may not actually be the case. So on our side, this is Ross Stanford and Vinit Parekh, if I remember correctly, and I think they were in the working group for storage diags. But if that's not the case, I still need to get an answer from Dan. If that's not the case, then we can coordinate another storage type diag just fine.
Okay, I see.
All right, thanks, Igor. Venkat, since we're talking about storage diags, you have any updates you want to share on CTAM or your storage thing?
Yeah, not on the storage diag right now. I'm still getting CTAM kind of working with internally to publish like some test cases and run it by I think Rajat and team kind of before we start contributing. So that should happen sometime next week. We're still waiting for the release into main, and I'm working on the prototype to connect the correct CTAM to Redfish emulator. So that can help with the CI process. I think those are the two things. The next 2 weeks, I should have some update on it.
Okay, thank you, Venkat. Who's next? Maybe Young. Any updates you want to share?
Hey, good morning. We are working on the VC release. So it's like 1.14. So it's the next release. We're going to qualify all the workloads that we have. Yeah, that's the updates. Meanwhile, we are just maybe I mentioned last time we are adding support for certificate authentication.
So last time you mentioned TPCC, the SQL bench.
And these will be included in the new release for PostSQL, and the next will work on like MySQL TPCC.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. Thank you for the update, Young. Next, Giovanni, do you want to share any updates on the Rust API, maybe?
Yeah, so we are continuing the work on the Rust API. So that it's the only update about those APIs. And on the other side, for the composable test that has been renamed to diagnostic packages, I started the discussion on GitHub. I just posted in the chat the link. So if you wanted to have a look and yeah, put your comments there, I will be happy to reply to everyone.
Thanks, Giovanni. I'll copy the link and the meeting notes for everyone else. Maybe I should post the meeting notes doc here as well. I think we'll have some time today as well if you wanna have any discussion on the test composable, but after we finish with the status. What did I miss? Maybe Hua, any updates on the LMT development? Did you make a decision with Satish on how we continue with the 2 diags?
No, I haven't talked to Satish since last time, but there's some progress on my end. So a couple weeks ago, someone demonstrated the Melton the result viewer tool, and the last time we kind of agree with Satish that it's better for the consumer of the output to specify what the format is. So with that tool, I'm able to see the result rendered in that tool and what the user actually sees. So I've been kind of trying to massage my output to fit that viewer, and I'm still in the process of doing that. And I do have some preliminary result. I think by I can show it if we have time today, but I don't think Satish is here. Probably next time I can give a demo of what the output looks like.
Yeah, I don't see Satish on the call. Is this the output that you are referring to right now that you're changing? Are these changes specifically for the result viewer, or do these also go into the diagrams that you were getting with the timings and voltages? Like if I remember correctly, you had this diagram where on you were showing every lane, right? So that's a different output, right?
Yes, it's a different. The diagram is just for analysis purpose. This is just render the OCP format and showed all these fields in a HTML presentation. Yeah, it's just based on like what I'm doing. It feels like, to me, it feels like, after a party, you have to fit all the dishes into a dishwasher. It's there's a lot of things going to cram into a defined space, and how to make it, all the dish gets the spraying. So it's like that.
Got it. Okay, interesting analogy. Yeah, so I'll put it on the agenda for next time, maybe if Satish is here as well, to discuss that a bit and maybe show a demo of what you've been working on. That'd be nice. Okay, thanks for the update, Juan. And maybe last person before we go into other topics, Vincent, any updates on interaction with vendors, ODMs, and such?
Not particularly material to this group yet on the vendor side. Daniel did an implementation of an integration of Memtester in Fava, so we'll push to have that be in line with our production, manufacturing production, and that would be basically a pattern for adopting CTEM, LMT, SAT, and others within our manufacturing production. From the vendor side, no, at this point, I'll provide an update when we have it. There's been some resourcing challenges on that end to onboard and guide the ODMs on that. So it's going much even slower than I would have liked, but it continues. I mean, the information is out there. It's just the guidance is slower. Other than that, on the logistics side, I followed up with Michael regarding the cadence for the meeting. We can discuss that later. But yeah, we're not bound to a fixed cadence, so we can, you know, if we choose to, we can revisit that. I think that's it. And I think Michael was going to make sure that the wiki recordings were updated on the wiki site. I'm gonna check now if that happened.
Yeah, so Van was also asking for the recording of the presentation that they gave last time with the result here, or 2 times ago, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they've not updated that again. I'll ping Michael now.
Okay. Yeah, in the meantime, thanks for the update, Vincent. I think so you raised 2 points here. One is we're going slower with the interaction with the ODMs, which is expected, I would say. I hope this autoval open sourcing is going to help on that side, because one of the things that I've gotten out of this project is that it's supposed to be like an intersection point where other people can contribute as well, not just from inside Meta. So because it's on GitHub, that would mean anyone can look at it and maybe push PRs. So whether that's ODMs, vendors, or anyone else, like other companies, maybe that will help with this. On the cadence item, this is actually the first thing that I wanted to put on the table to discuss, because it was left from last week. I don't know exactly how we're gonna decide on this, but one of the questions that Vincent, maybe you were asking, was whether we wanna have this meeting every week or maybe once every 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, essentially revise the cadence to whatever makes more sense to the group, since the solution has matured a lot, and I think we've pivoted more into discussing the diags themselves and not so much the API, so to speak, and the structure of the spec.
So at this point, maybe I would ask for opinions about whether we should reduce the cadence. I will, however, express a concern that I have around this, which is, as you may well know, reducing the cadence is easy. Increasing the cadence is difficult. So getting more time to get meetings is more difficult than cutting meetings. So my concern is that if we reduce the cadence right now to every 2 weeks, which should be fine considering the rate of the updates and everything that's going on right now. My concern is, what if later on we need this 1 per week cadence back when we start discussing something which is more involved? For example, input parameters or another aspect of the spec, or maybe, you know, the certifications and all of that, because there's a bunch of things and work streams that we haven't discussed in a while, and they're kind of pending in the background because we're making progress on different fronts. For example, the diags, but those still exist and are there. They're not going to go away. So Any opinions? I'm gonna start naming some names for opinions. Go ahead, Igor. I saw you had a hand up earlier.
Yeah, so maybe we can skip meetings if we discover that there is nothing to discuss at that particular time, but still have it just in case.
That was also what I was considering, yes. Like keep the calendar as is, and at the beginning of the meeting say, okay, nobody wrote anything in the agenda, means we can skip the meeting for this week and you get the time back. But that's still subtly different than not having the meeting at all, right? Because the planning is different. At the same time, that would imply that we have the discipline to actually put things on the agenda, which is different than what's been going on so far, which was me asking people for updates at the beginning of the meeting. So if everyone is okay with doing that, like writing your updates in the agenda and stuff to discuss, then I think we can go do this, implement this strategy as well, like skipping the meeting if there's nothing to discuss.
I think that's smart.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Vincent, what do you think about this alternative?
I'm definitely flexible with what the group feels in terms of the cadence. Where I was going with this and what I'm thinking is if we look at some of the other sort of sister initiatives, hardware management, I was just taking a look right now. Hardware management does a monthly, we could maybe in sort of the mini brainstorm on this, because I don't want to overthink this. If there are topics to discuss, we should certainly not reduce the cadence. I think the intent of reducing the cadence was to get more participation at the reduced cadence, so that and keep the momentum high. So if we feel we've got the lineup of topics, let's for sure not change anything. But I do think we've matured and we're at a different place where we could use the time. We're still not leveraging enough the asynchronous channels that we have. The GitHub discussion, there's only a few that are actively using it, and I think that's maybe part of why we want to maintain the meeting. If we pivoted a little bit more into those asynchronous channels, maybe we would feel more comfortable reducing the cadence. So personally, I'm a little bit on the fence. It's not an ideal time for some people, and that's feedback I've gotten in general. So I want to be sensitive to that too, and want to see what other working groups that are similar to us do. And it does seem like weekly is not super frequent. It's very understandable in incubation phase, but we're no longer incubating. So I guess where I'm going with this is if the general consensus of this group here is to maintain the weekly, for sure, let's maintain it. But I'm personally still a little bit unclear whether that's a consensus or not. So I think we've got a few people that have expressed interest, but we don't have a really good representation of the feeling in general.
Actually, I was saying I want to poll for opinions. We have an actual tool in Zoom for polls and quizzes, so I can do that right now.
Actually, we didn't. Oh yeah, on the OCP one we do. That's actually good.
Give me 1 second to figure this out.
You're gonna need a little jingle music in the back, you know, the Jeopardy music.
Would be
while you're doing this, because one of the concern I have with the if there's no agenda to talk about, we cancel. My experience with those is it ends up putting that on the shoulders of very few people to try to drive the agenda, and that's not necessarily fair. And often it ends up being a very last minute thing. So it's a little bit slippery slope. I personally prefer to set cadence so that we meet no matter what. And just historically, you know, agenda, it's ideal that we get an agenda set and talking points, but that's not always the case.
There we go. Is everyone seeing a poll? This is the first time I do this, so I have no idea how it works.
Yes, you figured it out, man. You're the legend.
Okay. I'll wait maybe a couple of minutes for people to give some answers here. We don't have everyone on the call, but I'm gonna assume this is a good sample, though.
When you say call status, it's like you ask if there's something to be
Yeah, it's what I've been doing so far. Like I have some feedback on this called status thing as well, which is why I am putting it as an option here. Just so you know, I do not see names, so I just see the number of votes. I don't know who voted for what. But I expect 8 votes. Yes. All right. In the meantime, I'll actually leave this up for the time being, and we can get back to the poll later on. In the meantime, Giovanni, do you wanna discuss? Do you have anything to discuss on the composable test spec?
Well, not really at the moment. So the only thing is that I created the discussion, and because I found the previous discussion with Dan that we were talking about using the RFC template from the Rust community, I tried to use that. I mean, it was fine like any other templates. And I put essentially all the information that I shared last time regarding the project. So just have a look. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you need more information, and I could fill up or just starting other discussion. And then if there is enough interest from the people in the group here, we could start to talk about that in the meetings that we have.
Okay. So we have the link in the meeting notes. Anyone who wants to look at that discussion, feel free to do so. Any other items that we want to discuss today? Anything to raise?
So we're not discussing DIAC composability today, right? It's for offline discussion.
Yeah,
What
Giovanni made a GitHub discussion post.
Right. So we will discuss it offline, not in the meeting.
Well, if you want, we could also discuss here. I mean, I just started the discussion because it was a nice way to share the information and having them written somewhere.
Oh, I see. Okay, we can continue offline. Yeah.
Okay.
So just to be clear on this one, because this question came up before, like how do we discuss things? I want to make sure that everyone is on the same page with the fact that we can use the GitHub discussions for async discussion, yes, but we should also use it as a base of sharing information before we actually discuss something in the live meeting. just to get context and all of that. It's a lot more efficient. So regardless of the fact that we have the GitHub discussion item right now, I still think we should go into those topics on the call. Then again, that's my opinion. If you, Giovanni, like if you want to drive this discussion, thanks, Vincent. If you want to drive this discussion and you're saying it's sufficient just to do the async one, then we can also do that.
My idea is that I would like people to have a look at the discussion on GitHub just to get an overview of the project, and then we could start to talk about that in the meetings. But
Okay,
at least we have a common ground where to start, essentially, instead of like people hearing that for the first time or don't remember stuff. So we could start once the people have a better understanding of the project. So from the next time, we could start to talk about that during the meeting.
Okay, yeah, so that is what I just said as well. So I think we're aligned there. All right, I'll get back to the poll now because I have 7 out of 7 answers, and there's 3 answers with people putting items on the agenda if we cancel, if there are none, and there's 3 votes on bi-weekly with call status. So those 2 are equal, which means that we do not have a majority decision of what exactly to do. But the common aspect between them is changing to bi-weekly. So that being said, is everyone aligned with this? So like if we start this this week, this means we're gonna skip next week and then meet the week after, which is 22nd. Does that work for everyone? Any opinions, any show of hands, any comments, concerns? Maybe I should have asked the negative question if there's any concerns. Okay. Well, in this case, maybe we'll do this experiment for a bit and see how it goes. So again, to reiterate and be clear, next week is skipped. So 15th of May, we are not having a call, and we are having a call on 22nd. Cool. Anything else we want to discuss today, or do we want to end early? Okay, I'll take that as an end early. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you in 2 weeks from now.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.